When you were growing up after your parents were separated and Dad was out of the picture, money was tight. How much did you move growing up?
Well, I lived in one house till I was 11, and then well, actually maybe 13. And then we moved, we stayed in place for a couple years, and then we moved again for about a year, moved again, and we probably moved 3 or 4 or 5 times, like in my mid-teenage years.
I mean, there were times when heat or hot water were unreliable, right?
Yeah, but we lived in Florida. It's not that cold, but some of the winters it get cold, and I remember a few times my mom just put in just enough money to the side to get oil to heat the house. We had this one heater, and we'd be sitting there freezing, and we didn't really have like winter clothes and stuff, so we'd be really extra cold at those times.
How satisfying was it to be able to buy the family a house, though, when you were in high school?
Yeah, it was nice to be able to buy. I bought a car and a house when I was 17, basically with cash, and
and that's when the money's like real too. Like,
yeah.
What was that like?
It was nice. My mom sort of barely had lunch money for us when we were in elementary school. We'd go to school with like some coins. My mom used to talk about later on. She would talk about how she would go turn the coins in at the bank, so we thought we had dollars. But she usually just had a lot of coins, and she'd turn them in and give us a few bucks for lunch. But I had it better than a lot of kids. There's homeless people out there. I always had a roof over my head. My mom made it work somehow. She made $500 a week, kept a roof over our head, and fed us, and raised 3 boys basically on her own. So, but I think the only reason I really talk about it is that I try to let people know I appreciate what I have. I wasn't in extreme poverty or anything like that. We didn't have any extra cash, and if we wanted to go on a trip, my mom would oftentimes sell something. Like she had a banjo, a 1938 Gibson gold top banjo, and it was like her prized possession. One time I was going to go surf the World Championships, and we didn't have the money, and I didn't have the sponsorship, so she sold the thing. It's probably a $30,000 instrument now, and she sold it for like $500, $400 or something like that. So,
did you recognize the significance of it?
I didn't then.
Okay,
I do
yeah.
now.
Right.
Now I look at, wow, that's pretty heavy.
So your career took off, pretty quickly thereafter, and you're in your early 20s. You, at that point, I think, made millions of dollars, and you realize you're broke.
Yeah, I had made good money for probably from the time I was about, when I was 16, I started making some money. Maybe 15, I started making $100 a week or something, and then 16, I started making a few $100 a week, and then by the time I was 17, I was making pretty good money. Here's the thing: if you grow up without any money, you don't really have good money skills. Generally, your family doesn't, and so we just didn't have that skill and know much about how to handle money. So it's just that classic story, go from rags to sort of riches, and then back to rags for a little while before you figure it out.
Do you remember how you found out and what that feeling was?
Yeah, I do. That's kind of personal. I don't like to talk about it because it's I don't know, that's just something for me. But I feel like I learned the lesson.
How did it make you feel?
It really pissed me off. I was just really, really upset. That was something that took a long, long time to kind of come to grips with. But I look back at it and I go, luckily it happened when I was 21 years old or 22 years old, and not when I was 35, because at that age I was able to, kind of reset my goals and go, okay, look, now I'm going to make some money. I need somebody to kind of help me with financial planning and investing, and to eventually get to a place where I kind of understood what I was doing and taking care of my future.
I was going to say, what do you think the best lesson you learned through all of that was?
Just
with regards to money?
Just to plan out, have someone or multiple people you could trust that can give you a good idea of how to learn it yourself, so you're not just totally entrusting someone else to invest and handle your money.